order this meeting of the Knoxville-Knox County Council on Aging. We're excited for those of you who could join us today, and we're very excited to have Alaina with us. Your executive team met from 1 to 2 today, and we talked about a number of items. We welcomed 4 new members to the committee, and we also discovered that we truly have a need for drivers with mobile meals. 4 new routes have been added. We're now delivering to over 1,400 people in the community. So if you have that desire, or if you have someone else you know who might have a desire to do that, perhaps a newly retired person who has the time to devote to that. The Office on Aging can answer any questions you have about that. Right now, mobile meals is contactless, so you are given a brand new bag to put the meal in, hang it on the doorknob, knock, and step away so you can social distance, make sure people get their meals. So please be sure to let us know in the Office on Aging if that's of interest to you, and spread the word among your friends. We also had an update on all the programs that are available through the Office on Aging. We are very busy doing virtual programs. Toenail clippings have resumed, weekly check-in calls, and I think if there was anything else new that we were going to talk about, I think we're in good shape, and so I'd like to turn you to Dottie Rivers with the Office on Aging.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay, Mary Sophia? Okay, let me make sure I double muted myself. Thank you all so much for being here. I know this is our first opportunity to try our virtual Council on Aging meeting, so I know I'm trying to respond. Hopefully you all can hear now. I know there was some issue with that as we got started, so just send a chat if you have an issue. Through the Office on Aging, as you all may know, we have over 20 programs that serve older adults in Knox County. And so we have been actively working over the past several months during our COVID pandemic to meet the needs of older adults. I wanted to bring your attention to a couple of items. The Mobile Meals Program needs volunteers to help deliver meals. Someone you know that may be interested in doing that, please call Jessica at 524-2786. Next week, on September 17th, our O'Connor Senior Center, which is still closed per Governor's executive order, we are actually having a drive-through celebration of our 60th year in operation as the O'Connor Senior Center. We invite all of you to come by from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. You get a special birthday treat, and there will be some vendors there as well that will be handing out information, and I'm guessing some goodies too. We have some special treats planned as well for you for that event, and so all will be able to join us. Our Power of the Purse event this year looks very different, as everything, kind of like we're doing right here with our virtual Council on Aging meeting. We are going to have a virtual online auction for some Patricia Nash packages. That'll be from September 22nd through the 24th. If you log on to our website at knoxseniors.org, you can find out more information and to view our packages. And you can also call our office at 524-2786 if you need more information about that. I would also like to let everyone know and remind them, if you haven't completed your census for 2020, please, we ask you to do that. It is very important to our funding that we receive from the federal government in our agency and to many here in Knox County. For every person that's not counted, Knox County loses $2,000 every year for the next 10 years. So you do the math on that, and it's very important. So I would ask that you consider doing that if you haven't already. You can get help by calling our Senior Information and Referral line at 546-6262. If you need help filling that out. There are people coming to the doors now, but if you'd rather do that over the phone or online, you can do that. So the Office on Aging has been very busy. If you want more information, we'd be happy to share with you about that. So thank you all, and I'm going to turn it over to Angela.
Buddy, I'm really excited to introduce our speaker today. She's Dr. Alaina Marino. She owns her own physical therapy or physiotherapy clinic, and she's going to talk today about arthritis, degenerative joint disease, and she's getting older and trying to do so without pain. She has been a practicing physical therapist for about 15 years now, so welcome, Dr. Marino.
Thanks, everyone. I'm really excited about what you all are doing and any way that we can help out. So I've got on here for the arthritis workshop, and I don't see a chat box. So I'm hoping that Angela or Dottie, if you see something come through on the chat box for questions, to please let me know, and I will be happy to answer any questions as we go or also at the end. And we have about 25, 30 minutes. Is that correct? Okay, so here we go. Today we're going to be talking about arthritis. Some people call them good old author. A lot of times people feel like if they have a diagnosis of arthritis that they are doomed to pain. And today we're going to talk about how that's not necessarily the case. So to give you a little bit of background, my mission is to help people get out of pain naturally without medications, injections, or surgeries. It doesn't mean that they're not beneficial to have those at some times, but we don't want that to be our first course of action when there's things we can do to actually correct some of the issues that you have going on. So the way to get the most out of this workshop, I'll tell you, you're already doing the first thing. You've shown up, and showing up is the first step to actually helping yourself. I would suggest if you grab a pen and paper and jot down some notes if you have any questions. And usually I'm doing this in Zoom when we're doing these workshops. I let people know to put a message into the chat box. Again, I'm not familiar with this version of online media, so Angela will help us out with that.
Yeah, there is a chat box. Depending on how your screen looks, it looks like chat, notes, and then a closed captions option. So if you click on the chat box, we'll be able to see any questions that you may put in there.
Oh, there's the chat box. Oh, perfect. Angela, you are a gem. Does me having the chat box change your view of my screen? Okay, excellent. All right, so fantastic. Should be able to see questions as they come in. All right, so let's get started. For our, just to give you a little bit of background, again, my name's Alaina Marino. My husband's family he's related to Mary Jo Marino. Some of you may have remembered Marino Therapy Centers from the last 30 years around Knoxville. So she's my aunt-in-law. Yes, we are related, is a question we usually get. We're located just down the street from the post office off of Cross Park Drive near the Cedar Bluff area. Now, I know that Angela had originally spoken with Danny Winningham. He's one of our other therapists, and he would be happy to give this chat, but he's actually scheduled with patients already for today, so I'm helping out. And Danny, this is his family with Lauren, and that cute little boy, that's Camden, and little girl is Casey. Those are the bright lights of his eye. And give you a little bit of background. Danny has background. He's been practicing for 15 years as well. He trains new physical therapists to become great physical therapists, and he has advanced training in. He actually does these classes on heel pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, balance, Parkinson's. He has a whole list of talks that he gives as well. So either one of us are always happy to help out with. If you have a topic you would like some more information on, we're happy to help out with that. He actually has one of the hardest certifications in the country for manual therapy, so we're very blessed to have him on staff. Again, my name's Alaina Marino. I'm almost done with my second doctorate in physical therapy, and you can see I have some credentials as well. I have 4 manual therapy certifications. I'm a fellow and in orthopedic manual therapy and a board certified specialist in orthopedics. So all of that is a fancy way of saying I am a body mechanic. If it's between your hair and your toenails and it doesn't work or move well, then Danny and I are going to be your go-to to help you figure out what needs to move better. People always ask us, how did you come to specialize in doing these kind of talks and talking about arthritis and joints that aren't moving the way they're supposed to? And what happened is because Danny and I are so highly credentialed, we have a lot of advanced training. A lot of times people will have a problem and feel like, oh, I have pain in my knee. And what happens is they get all of these investigation into looking at just the knee without looking at everything else that might be involved. And you may have noticed as you get older that gravity tends to win. And we have other issues that will start to go hand in hand. Like, well, if my foot's bothering me, then also my hip and knee and back might bother me. Or if my back's bothering me, that can also flare up my knee. And we specialize in working in those complicated cases where there's relationships between different issues going on. And as we've been doing this for a while, we've started doing these talks for the public because we found the more information that we give out, the more people can use it and start feeling better. And that's part of our mission. So today we're going to talk about some of the things that our patients, I'm going to be talking about the things that our patients tend to tell us and what their concerns are. They tend to tell us, the things that they're worried about when it comes to arthritis. We're going to go over the number one mistake that people make when it comes to having arthritis or back pain. We're going to look at how the degenerative process works and what is concerning and what is not, and also go over a couple of different options as far as for how to manage your condition. And again, feel free to pop in the chat box if you have any questions, or I'm going to be asking you some questions along the way that you're welcome to answer there as well. So I love this picture that's got a few different things going on here. I want you to look at this couple on the left-hand side, and it looks like they're probably having fun with their grandkids. They look like they're having a great time. Do you look at that picture and think, oh, I miss my grandkids. I can't wait till the next time I can roll around on the ground and play with them? Or do you look at them and think, oh dear, I don't know if I could even get up and down from the ground right now? All right, let's move over to this couple in the middle. It looks like they're on a cruise, having a great time. Do you look at that couple and think, oh, I cannot wait for the next cruise. I should probably go do one of those. Or do you look at them and think, oh my goodness, I can't imagine packing my bag, hauling it in and out of the car, walking across the airport, picking my bag up and putting it in the overhead. Do you think about, I don't think I can do this because my body won't let me? Or do you think, oh, I love doing that, and I might want to do that myself? And this last one, this gentleman on the right, how old do you think he is? I have a lot of people who will guess everything from 70 to 90. This gentleman is in his 80s. And it looks like he's running a race. And do you think he just woke up today and said, I'm going to run in a 5K? Or do you think that maybe he had to prepare for that? Make sure his body was functioning well enough for him to do the things that he wants to do. So this is what I want you to think to yourself. Do you look at these pictures and think, I love to do that thing? Or do you think, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I could do that thing, but I don't know that my body could handle that right now? So there's this idea that just because we're getting older, that we should have less function and more pain. And I'm here to tell you that that's not the case. Even bodies that have problems and arthritis, there are ways to get it moving better and feeling better. Unfortunately, a lot of the public information that's out there says, oh, this hurts, you need to rest. Or someone says, oh, you're older, why don't you take a break and I'll do the work? I'm here to tell you, if you come to my house, we're going to put you to work too, because moving is good for you. Continuing to work and be active and move heavy weights and doing activities is going to be better for you in the long run rather than giving into the pain. So we'll talk about some of that as well. But one of the things that we've noticed is arthritis-related pain. It really robs you of being able to enjoy life in the sense that, oh, we want to go to a movie? Sure. Up and off we go. We want to go walk around the mall? Off we go. For people who are in pain or having issues with joint problems or back problems or arthritis, they have this pause to think, oh, where's the next bench? Or maybe I need to make sure and take my arthritis medication before I go. Or they always have this pause of just jumping in and enjoying life to try to account for if they're able to do things in relation to their pain. So this can lead to a lot of concern. If you've ever had a paper cut on your finger, you'll notice you see the paper cut, you see where it's bleeding, you know you see what it is, you know, you just wash your hands, put some Neosporin and give it a Band-Aid, and you know what to do there. It's easy to see it and it's easy to treat it. But for those pains that you can't just instantly see it and know exactly what's going on, it can be kind of scary wondering, is there something really bad going on? And we have this idea, the pain in your body, pain is just the alarm system to tell your brain, hey, you got to be careful. You might be doing damage somewhere. And when you have this ongoing discomfort, your brain automatically says, oh no, as soon as you feel discomfort. So not being able to fully understand exactly what's going on can be a little frightening when it comes to pain in the joints, in the back. A lot of times people will tell me they're nervous to push and do things that, what if I do more damage, or what if I have more pain, or what if it gets bad enough to where I can't do the things I want to do, or people look at me like I'm disabled and have to get me a wheelchair. And these are the concerns that our patients express to us day in and day out. And it's fun to watch as you take that pain away and get people moving better, as these fears and worries start to just drop down. Now, next I want to talk about the number one mistake that people make when it comes to managing pain, especially arthritis and back pain. The number one mistake that I see people make is they do this. They ignore it. This comes often in the form of an excuse like, oh, I can handle it, or, oh, I'll just take more Tylenol, or it's just normal for my age, or it's my regular pain. And I'll tell you, pain is not normal. It might be common, but that doesn't mean that it's okay and normal. And there are things you can do about it. So typically what happens when someone has a discomfort, they go to their doctor, and the doctor may say, let's try this medication and just lay off of it for a little while and see if you feel better. They may do an x-ray, or they may even refer you on to an orthopedic surgeon. And one of the things that we look at with arthritis, there are times when it's appropriate to go ahead and look at, is it time for a joint replacement? But a lot of times, it's always surprising to me that when we start getting things moving the right way and unloading the stresses through the joint, when the pain goes away, a lot of times people decide to just skip the surgery altogether because they can move and do what they want to. It's always interesting to me that for the longest time, people didn't get to physical therapy until they had already been to one or two other doctors. Well, that's changed quite a bit now. In the state of Tennessee, you can actually come to a physical therapist straight off the street. You don't have to have a doctor's order. You can come straight in. If you do have Medicare, then we do send an update to that physician so that we're all on the same page. And we want to make sure that your healthcare team is all working together well there. But things are starting to change in this realm a little bit. Again, you can come straight into physical therapy. And the reason that there's a big push for you to start with physical therapy instead of starting down the orthopedic and physician route is because we know that when you're over 35 years old, we're going to see something wrong on your x-ray. We're going to see some degenerative changes, some wear and tear that's perfectly normal for aging. And we know that what we see on an X-ray MRI does not do a good job of correlating with exactly the source of your pain in most cases. So they did a really cool study. They took 250, 300 people over the age of 45, and they did on these people who had no pain in their knees whatsoever. And they did an X-ray on them. And they found that 95% of the people who had zero pain had things on the x-ray that looked like arthritis, bone spurs, cartilage, like different types of damage. And again, these are people who had no pain at all. And what that tells us is that it's very easy to get what's called a false positive on an x-ray or MRI, that just because something looks bad, we assume that must be the cause of the pain. if you don't get in with your hands and actually stress those tissues and check them out, then really it's an educated guess. And sometimes it pertains to what your pain is, but most of the time when we see these degenerative changes on an x-ray, that's been coming on over years and years and years. It doesn't just instantly become a bad knee on an x-ray. Now, if you have a bad fall and need to check for a fracture, go on and get checked out to make sure there's not a broken bone. But short of you having a bad fall, meaning you fell and just slammed onto a body part, x-rays are not what we need to be starting with. And our healthcare in the whole is starting to change with this. So what's interesting, they did another study that showed, this was a big one out of the state of Washington. They did all of these MRI, or all of these, they went back and checked all the people who'd had MRIs that worked for the state of Washington. And we know that if you have an MRI before you go on to have physical therapy, that you are 6 times more likely to have surgery than if you don't. And what we've got to remember is we tend to think that if something looks bad on an x-ray or MRI, that something is wrong. But does anyone in here plan to make it to 90 years old without getting some wrinkles on their face? Anybody? No? Exactly. Getting some wrinkles on your face is a natural part of aging, and it's okay. Well, when we get some of this wear and tear on the joints, that's what we call the wrinkles on the inside. And you're going to hear me say this a lot today. Just because it looks bad on an MRI does not mean that you are doomed to problems with your function or having to have pain. So I'm going to show you a couple of videos on here, and I'll try to zip through these kind of quick. But what I want to show you, here's the spine, the lumbar spine or low back. And I want you to see what happens as we get some wear and tear through here. You'll see, I'm skipping ahead a little bit. There we go. Come on, shows the discs. Sometimes it helps to be able to kind of have x-ray vision and look and see what happens in the spine. And this one is showing there's the spinal cord with some of the nerves coming off of it. Those can get grumpy sometimes. All right, come on. So this is what I want you to see. As we age, these discs in between the blocks of the spine, they start to flatten out, and which allows a little extra movement in the spine. And when you get more movement, you get a little more wear and tear. Now, I'll tell you, that looks really ugly, but it looks bad. That's actually not too bad. We have lots of people who look way worse than this and still have no pain. So what we want to remember, so as we age, you'll see that disc in the middle starts to flatten out. Oh, if I hit the play button, that is. You'll see where the disc starts to flatten out, and you see where everything gets a little wear and tear through there. And this may look scary, but again, they're just the wrinkles on the inside. So wear and tear through the joints is just wrinkles on the inside. Now, this was a pretty cool little study that looked at why do people go to their doctor? And if you notice, over 50% of the reason people go to their doctor is because their back or joints are hurting. And there are a lot of things we can do for this. And a lot of times people will have an MRI or an x-ray that will start showing, oh, look, you have arthritis in your hip. That must be it. Sorry, stinks to be you. You've got arthritis. Just because you have imaging that shows arthritis does not mean it has to hurt. Here's another little picture of the wear and tear process of the hip joint. So you can see as you start to get a little extra motion and wear and tear through the joint, that you will start getting some rubbing of the joint surfaces and some wearing down. Again, it doesn't have to hurt. Now, where we see people that have pain, especially we're going to talk about the hip, when people start having pain, I can't tell you how many times someone goes into the doctor and says, I have pain in my hip. So they do an x-ray and they say, oh, you've got arthritis. That's the problem. But in reality, what we know is that oftentimes it's just the wrinkles on the inside. So the location of where your pain is, if your pain is in the groin, so you see my little happy man up here with the smiley face, if the pain is right in your groin, let's say you try to pick your knee up to put your shoes on and you feel that pinching pain right in the groin, that's going to be more of hip arthritis and hip joint stiffness. The nice thing is there's 3 easy techniques we do that take care of most of that in about 10 minutes. So that's not too hard to take care of. Now, if the pain, you like my little picture of the baby bum there? If your pain is more in the buttock, that does not necessarily mean it's from your arthritis. Usually that means it's coming also from the lower back having a component as well. And it's very unfortunate for someone to go and have a hip replacement just based on an x-ray that shows some arthritis that often is very normal for their age. For someone to have an x-ray that says arthritis and then go ahead and have a hip joint replacement, but if no one took the time to really delve into making sure that that was your pain, you may still have the exact same pain afterwards. So it's very important that before you have a massively invasive surgery, that you know exactly where the pain is coming from and what's causing that problem. So let's show a little picture of the knee here. And you can see as you move, we can get some wear and tear on the knee joint as well. This is very common. We have that meniscus or cartilage inside the knee joint that gives us a little extra support there. And you can see as we get some wear and tear, you get some bone spurring in there. And this picture looks terrible. But I'll tell you, I've seen way worse pictures on MRIs, x-rays. I've even been into surgeries to get to look at these up close and personal. And just because it looks bad does not mean it has to feel bad. Again, are you getting the picture of my little woman with, I always call her Jackie. Like, this is Jackie. She looks so happy, even though she has wrinkles. Wrinkles don't necessarily mean it has to hurt. If you know someone named Jackie, I hope you like them and they're fabulous. So when we look at a joint that's got a lot of wear and tear through it, a lot of people will tell me, can't you just like give me a little shot of some WD-40? It would be nice if it worked that way, but we don't lubricate the joints by adding lubricant to them. We lubricate the joints by actually getting them moving. So we have this saying that motion is lotion. It doesn't mean you have to be aggressive, but the more you can take a joint through its normal amount of movement in a nice, easy way, the more it helps lubricate the joint and reduce some of that discomfort. Now, this is another area of arthritis that we tend to see a lot of people struggle with, and it's right in the hand at the base of the thumb. So you can see, again, you can get wear and tear through there depending on how you use it. Again, arthritis is just wrinkles on the inside. So when we look at a hand, if you have arthritis in your hand and you just look at your palm the same way we've got this hand up here, you may have pain in one of the 2 areas where those red stars are. I'm going to show you a little trick. If you put your finger on the place where the blue star is, right between those 2 areas on your hand, and you can kind of rub it back and forth, and a lot of times you'll feel there's a little area that's tender there. If you just push on that spot and hold it for about 15 to 20 seconds, I have a lot of people that we treat them for arthritis down in this part of the hand and thumb. We can actually use dry needling or a little trigger point release right in that palm of the hand where that blue star is, that little pressure, and it'll turn off all the pain in their hand without them having to have a joint replacement. So there is some training to keep that from coming right back on, but that's a little trick that you can try if you have arthritis in your hand. Now, a lot of people ask me, well, Alaina, is there really anything I can do about my pain? Well, here's the easy way to tell. If you have something that you do during the day that brings your pain on, for arthritis sufferers, that usually means discomfort the first 30 minutes of the day. If there's something you do that brings your pain on, if your pain is reproducible, the good news is it's generally reducible. You just have to know the cause of the pain and appropriately treat it. This idea that just because one person has pain in the knee, they get the same program as another person who has pain in the knee, that's of the past. We know that the more precise you are with assessing the source of your pain, the more precise we can be with fixing it. Now, I will tell you, I'm a physical therapist. I tend to be biased as physical therapy being the best approach. You may be aware that in East Tennessee, we're not in the middle of a TheraBand crisis. We're in the middle of an opioid crisis. Actually, right now, I don't know if you're watching the news, there's a tiger loose in South Knoxville. So that's a different crisis altogether. But there is a high tendency in East Tennessee for people to be prescribed opioid medications for their pain. There's a lot of bad side effects with that. It's active. You're not worried. You are in control of how much you feel comfortable doing. And there are different types. This idea that everybody needs to get on a bike and work really hard. I have some people that come in and we actually warm up their knee and get in and just do some gentle joint glides. We show them 2 exercises and then they're done. They don't need a whole lot, but they needed that high precision. And then they feel great for the next week or so as they keep working on getting themselves stronger to not need that. Now, I have found a lot of times people who've had physical therapy before would have it for a couple weeks and then they were just done. We actually take a different approach. When you're doing well on your own, we follow up with you about 3 months, 6 months, and then every 6 months to a year after that to make sure that everything's still moving well. And we stay there as a resource for you. So as you start to work on the things that you want to feel better with, make sure that you're not just treating it once and saying, okay, I'm done. You've got to make sure that you know how to handle that throughout the rest of your life and throughout changes in your life, which can be anything from weight gain, weight loss changes, to differences in living surfaces. If now you have stairs or now you're walking in a different area. And I want you to think about what some of the side effects are here. I hope you're ready for this. Physical therapy has side effects, including improving your blood pressure, improving your blood sugar, improving your weight, improving how you look in a swimsuit, because I'm sure that's what everybody's concerned about, right? You have less issues with depression, less pain, less debility. You'll feel better, less fatigue. I love the part where you have reduced risk of falls and fractures. It actually improves your brain function, helps you to socialize and live better. And I love the one on here that says reduce death. That means that it reduces your risk of death in the near future. It kind of pushes it back a bit so that you can, no one tells me, Alaina, I just want to live forever. They say, I want to live well and be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it. So those are some great side effects to physical therapy. Typically, the most important part of physical therapy is not the exercises. One day, lightning's going to strike me for saying that. But the most important part with physical therapy is that you're very precise in finding out the source of your problem. Just saying, I'm going to get this standard program because I have knee pain or back pain or hip pain, that might not be what's appropriate for you. You have to look at the person, what they want to do, what they're able to do now, and what are all the tissues that are involved. If you don't look at all of them, you might be missing something important. It's also important for someone to actually get into an arthritic joint with their hands and help the glides move the right way. A lot of times people think the knee just bends and straightens. In reality, it has to rotate a little bit as well. And if you don't get all the motions back, you're missing out on being able to get rid of a lot of pain there. Sometimes we'll use traction on those joints. And once we settle the pain down, this is a new idea. A lot of times people think, oh, well, I have no pain, no gain. I'm going to push through it. What we've found is it's better to turn the pain off and then teach you how to keep the pain away with some of those stabilizing and strengthening exercises. But again, that's a little bit different for everyone. We want to make sure that that's precise to you. Let's see, 1 in 4 visits to your primary care doctor is for back pain. I always find that interesting. And not a lot of people end up to physical therapy for back pain, even though we're the best at treating it. So just be mindful. You have a resource. And even if it's not with us, there's resources of physical therapists all over town. There are a lot of things you can be doing there. Now, like I said, I'm Alaina Marino from Marino Physiotherapy. So if you are looking for a PT, I'd hope you would check us out. If you're looking for answers about what the cause of your pain is, if you're ready to get out of pain, if you want a very efficient, high precision assessment and course of care, or if you just want or need the best, our clinic has the highest level of credentialed therapists in the region. So if there's something you have questions about, I would suggest that you take advantage of it. We're covered by Medicare. I think, and if you have a secondary, you don't even have a copay going on there. We are covered by insurance. Most insurances we will check your benefits for you. There are some insurances that we're out of network with that we do still work with. You don't have to have a referral from your physician to get started. We will ask who your physician is, though, because we want to make sure that we're sending our report to them and we're all on the same page about what's going on. Your healthcare team, being a team, is always very important. Other questions that I get, is it normal for me to have pain because I'm older? That's a great question, because guess what? Just because you have more candles on your cake does not mean you have a sentence of pain for the rest of your life. Age is only the number on your driver's license. It doesn't mean you have to have pain. It doesn't mean you have to have limitation. Now, as we get older, you do have more time and more opportunities to mess things up that you'll need some training on how to undo. But don't settle for, I'm going to have pain because I'm older, when you can live a great life without the discomfort stopping you from doing the things you want to do. So let's see. Next, can you help with arthritis? Yes, there are lots of things we can do with arthritis. And something to think about is arthritis just means inflammation of the joint. So just because it looks like you have wear and tear on your joints on an X-ray or MRI does not mean that you have to have pain with it. We can settle down the itis part so that it's not inflamed and painful. We settle that down. We teach you the good ways to move your joint so that it relieves pain and helps you do what you want to do with much less discomfort, and then gets you on your way to where you can get back to doing those things you love to do. I get this question a lot, do I need surgery? And usually this is on the first visit and someone comes in and we get our hands on the joint, we check it, oh, that's the direction that's not moving. We glide the joint, get it moving a little bit better, and then we have the patient get up and try squatting up and down. And they still want to know, do I need surgery? And I say, well, does it still hurt? And they'll say no. And then my answer is, well, then I probably wouldn't have surgery for it. If you can function the way you want to and the pain, you're not being limited by the pain, I would look at other options there. Now, I will tell you, sometimes I do get someone in where I feel the joint, and for the amount of work that they're going to have to do to get relief and have to continue doing versus going ahead and having a joint replacement, I have that conversation with people pretty regularly as far as, is surgery a better option for that person? For some people it is, and some people it isn't. But what we do know is that if you have that training before your surgery, then you can come out of, let's say you were to have a knee replacement. If you have the appropriate education and strengthening training before the knee replacement, then your post-operative care is a breeze. It doesn't have to hurt that much. You can be up and walking in no time because you've already done the hard work beforehand instead of being in all the pain and trying to do the hard work. So I would definitely suggest that you make sure that you've had a course of physical therapy care before you look at doing a surgery so that you have the best outcomes possible. Now I have another question on here. Do you work with rheumatoid disease and fibromyalgia? Yes. I've been treating, so rheumatoid has its own particular type of arthritis that we've got to be careful with. The arthritis we've been talking about has been osteoarthritis. And what happens with rheumatoid arthritis is if you do a little bit of wear and tear through the joint, your body has an overreaction of inflammation and tries to, where your body's trying to stop the damaging process, it actually starts to break down more of the joint. There's a few ways to manage that differently than regular arthritis. And there are a lot of things you can be doing with that. There is a level of stabilization for the joint to protect the joints. And I usually suggest if you find out that you have rheumatoid factor or rheumatoid arthritis or rheumatoid disease, you need to have a one-on-one relationship with a physical therapist that you see about every 6 months to make sure that you're heading off the things that are going to result in you having fingers that kind of tilt over to the side. Have you ever seen someone whose fingers are all curled up and have those big knobs on them, or that their fingers are off to the side and their hand doesn't work so well? Those are things you can head off way ahead of time. Once you're to that point, there are some things you can do to get the pain down and get your fingers back where they're supposed to be to get some better control. But again, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So trying to stay ahead of rheumatoid is a great plan. Fibromyalgia, I've been treating fibromyalgia since 2006. And I've actually done quite a bit of research into fibromyalgia, and we have great outcomes with fibromyalgia. The key is that you can't treat every person with fibromyalgia exactly the same. Again, you have to be specific to what are the problems on this person that are being aggravated by this inflammatory state. What are the things we can do to settle down that systemic inflammation, unload the fibrous and muscular tissues, and help settle the pain? And we have we're usually getting people about 85% better with fibromyalgia at a minimum. For those people who keep working on the things we give them after they're done, they are usually able to get rid of almost all of their pain with an occasional thing, maybe if they go on a long drive or really push their body beyond their limits. Now, let's see, are there any other questions that you all have for me so far at this point?
And I can, everyone is muted, so if you're done with the chat, what I'll do is unmute everyone, and then if somebody has a question, they can ask it if they're calling in on the phone. Would that work with you? And I know somebody else just came on.
Okay, that's fine too. And I've got a little bit, tell you what, I'll go through some of this and then unmute so we can still answer questions. So just to let you know, I like to work with people who are proactive. People who take the time to sit, listen to me blab on about arthritis for 30, 45 minutes, those are the people we like to work with. So remember, the number one mistake people tend to make is ignoring the pain. There's three things you can do. You can ignore your pain, you can alter it with addictive medications, painful injections, or expensive and often ineffective surgeries, or you can actually get to the root cause of the pain and start to do something about it. So you've got to ask yourself, do you want to ignore it? Do you want to alter it? Or do you want to actually do something about your problems? So if you do want to do something about it, we do offer a free screen to anyone who attends one of our workshops. It's a 20-minute one-on-one session with myself or with Danny, where we look at, what is going on with your joint. We get our hands on there and we check the tissues out. I will tell you, we have 6,000 square feet. So for COVID safety, we actually can keep 1 to 2 people per gym. So we have 3 different gyms, and that's how we spread everyone apart there for safety. And if you did find this information helpful and want to do something really nice for us, we always appreciate Google and Facebook reviews to let other people know about our workshops and that we do give out great information. And if you do want to set up a consultation, then just give us a call, or you can send us a text message. Jason is at our front desk and he's happy to set you up for a time with that as well. We do all sorts of workshops. So if you have other topics you'd like for us to talk about, we do these. I probably do one of these a week with some group or another. So if you have anything that you're like, I'd really like to learn more about this condition or this problem, just let us know. We're happy to get you more information there. And yeah, that's all I've got there. And I see a question from Teresa about hammer toes. Yes, I actually enjoy treating hammer toes. There is, you know what? I'm going to take you for a little field trip and show you one of the things that we do with hammer toes. So typically someone with hammer toes will come in, and what we're looking at doing with them is we get our hands onto the joint and get the movement of the joint back, but it doesn't do us any good to just get the movement back if we don't retrain your feet the normal, correct way to work. And the way we do that is with this fun tape. It's called dynamic tape. And I'll tell you, I have a lot of patients who have a lot of fun with this. Where did I put the tape? Oh, perfect. So I'll never forget a woman I treated in South Knoxville for arthritis in her hands. And I put this tape on her hands, and she came back and said, Alaina, I didn't get asked out by any bikers or ex-convicts or anything, because the tape, if you can see it, it looks like it has little tattoos on it. But it's kind of cool. Oop. Danny, can you hold that for just a second? This tape is really stretchy. So what we can do is actually put a little bit of it on your toes. And when I say a little bit, it's like a piece about this big. And what it does is it stretches. We can stretch it out, stick it on the toe, and it pulls the toe in the correct position to allow things to move in a more normal fashion without having to be jammed and without having to be like jammed up and creating pain. Let's see. So yes, we do work with hammer toes. What other questions do you all have? And Dottie, if you want to go ahead and unmute anyone who wants to chat, I'm happy to answer whatever you're wondering about.
Okay, everyone is unmuted, so if you're not able to use the chat, you have the opportunity to ask a question now.
Alaina, I've been through lots of physical therapy. And I'm a registered nurse. And what you are talking about is not something I have seen elsewhere. That doesn't mean it's not available elsewhere. I've never been through that specific type of therapy and that type of hands-on assistance. So I want to thank you for talking about this. I'm really excited. I also have a senior group that I will be contacting to schedule you to speak for.
Of course, right.
But I will be calling for an assessment. I think this has been fabulous. It's definitely different than anything else.
Gotcha. Now, I did have a, I don't know how to stop sharing my screen if you have something else that you're wanting to show there, but I did have someone ask about sleeping positions. And I didn't know, I tell you, I teach about sleeping positions pretty regularly, but it's a little different for each person. So I was going to show you one thing that you can do for taking a little pressure off your neck and shoulder when you're sleeping. Also, if you have shoulder pain while you're sleeping, we actually have a whole webinar that we did on the shoulder, and towards the end of it we have about 10 minutes where we talk about nothing but sleeping positions, and I have those on our website. We actually record all of our workshops and webinars and put them in a video library. So if you have questions about pain in your heels and feet, or questions about shoulder pain or posture or aging with independence, we actually have those already recorded on our website if you ever want to check that out as well. I'm sorry, I'm in a different room now, so getting my computer to stay still is a little tricky. And Angela, is there a way to just share my video instead of sharing my PowerPoint?
That's the Dottie has that control. You need to press stop sharing on your screen.
Oh, I found it. There we go. I can do crazy things with bodies, but I'll tell you, technology still gets me sometimes. Okay, I don't know how to make my camera full screen, but I'm going to grab a towel and a pillow and show you something you can do to help with your neck while you're sleeping. Give me 1 second.
Bring the table over.
You remember Danny? Okay, so I have people ask me all the time. So we have this beautiful state-of-the-art facility with our new balance and gait center and our unweighted vest system to help people learn how to walk without risk of falls. And people ask me all the time, they're like, what's the best therapy equipment I can possibly get? Oops. How do I turn that off? Sorry about that. So they ask me, what is the best piece of therapy equipment that I can possibly get? And I tell them, you need to invest in one of these. It's a bath towel. Most people have one of these somewhere close by. So a lot of times people, when they're wanting to go to sleep, they find themselves shoving that pillow up or trying to move it around. You can actually take a bath towel and roll it up Okay.
Come here, David.
So if I roll up that bath towel, I only want it to be about as big around as my forearm, just above the wrist. Anywhere on the forearm is fine.
You're talking how to roll up a bath towel.
I don't want to make a big roll, just big enough for my forearm wrist area. And then I can take this towel and my pillow and I can put it right in the pillow. Now, I'm going to put it not on top of my pillow. I'm not sure if you can see this very well, but I'm putting it between the pillow and the pillowcase. Okay? So, towel roll, pillow, pillowcase. I don't put the towel roll up here on top of the pillow. I want just enough to give some support. So I have a lot of people who wake up with stiff necks and arthritic spines, and just this little bit of support helps to keep some of the pressure off of your shoulder joint and off of your neck. So if you want something that feels nice, they have those fancy pillows that have the extra lump and everything in them. I have some people who sleep with only just that rolled up towel and no pillow at all. But that is something that you can give a try at home. And I see a couple of other questions here in the chat box. Spondylosis between L3 and 4, physical therapy chiropractors, and injection is not help. Suggestions. Okay, so what we look at there, a lot of times when we see people, so spondylosis, this is for, I had a gentleman who asked about spondylosis. Spondylosis is another word for wear and tear, breakdown through the joint. That's similar to arthritis. There's another word called spondylolisthesis, where one segment will actually slide a little bit compared to another in the spine. I think I have a little piece of spine here. So when we see people who have that little bit, this is Stumpy, by the way. We name all of our little body parts around the clinic. But if you have a little piece of spine that slid forward just a little bit, that's okay. It doesn't mean it has to be painful, but it does mean that you have to be very specific with what you treat. Because as we get older, if you have a little spot where it's slipping forward, the way that you would treat the slipped part is the exact opposite of the way you treat just regular wear and tear, stenosis, and degenerative joint and disc diseases. So you've got to be with someone who helps you to be able to target this area of problem and treat it differently than the way you treat this one. So I hope that's helpful. A lot of times we see people get put on programs where they'll either just manipulate everything or they'll just say, here's an exercise program. And you can't leave any part of that out. It's kind of like a chicken and egg situation. If you don't cook both the chicken and the egg, you're going to get more of each of them. Let's see. And about 1/2 inch at L3-4 is not too uncommon. There are some things you can do to be taking care of that, of course. And of course, Dottie with her great information that the program will be available in a few days on the website. So that's fantastic. If it's okay, we'll share that from our website too. So people get access to all the great information and resources you're providing. Did anyone else have questions?
Well, why did she say you don't have to have?
Was that half a question, maybe? Okay. Gotcha. Well, thank you so much for having me on here. I love the things that your group is doing. And if there's anything else we can help with or questions we can answer, I'm happy to stick around for a little while and go from there.
All right. Thank you so much for presenting today, and thank you everyone for joining in. We will be having another meeting on October 8th at 2:30. So stay tuned. We'll send out information on that in a couple of weeks. Thank you all.
Thanks, Angela.